Okay,
answer
great.
a
Awesome.
little bit more questions.
Yeah,
So,
got it.
okay,
We can
I think
start.
it's time.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's time to begin. Let me just say a few things about our session today. Three of us are working as product managers, and we're here to share some our knowledge and experience. And I think that our community should be helping us to do it. So do not hesitate to ask any questions in chat or in Q&A. Also, if any of you have some experience or interesting thoughts to share, we can also do some kind of an experiment, and I will try to join you into the session so that you can share your thoughts about the topic in front of other guys. Yeah, so today we will talk about customer development, and we separated our so-called presentation into three, and three of us are going to speak about their parts, and at the end we will be talking about questions. So you will be able to ask your questions, and we will try to answer them according to our experience and according to our knowledge. So yeah, I think it's time to begin. Nastya?
Thank you, Dilara. Can you next slide?
Yeah, sure.
We want to tell you about how to make your project successful. And ever heard of some projects like Everpeaks, about Google Wave? I think you don't show about these projects, and it's not surprising. I know that these applications is dead, and for example, Google Wave is a universal communication platform that appeared in 2010 year and was closed in 2012. And we were interested in the story, and we researched experience of different startups and found that found the interesting report that analyzed the life and death of more than 3,000 startups. About 67% of startups die or go into self-support mode. And we was interested in, and we want to explore why and what is the main reason for the failure. And the next slide. Uh, what is the main reason for the failure? I want to ask all participants of this presentation, why do you think 67% of startups die, and what the main reason for this failure? I give link, and you can choose the main reason for the failure of startups. Nadia, can you send the link? You need to go to menti.com and use the code 754060. And you can see the poll, and you can choose yes, you can choose the main reason for the failure. I give you 1 minute to choose more suitable answer.
Hey, can you give a link to this Mentimeter in the chat?
I sent Didara.
Yeah, just a second. I'll send you everything.
Yeah. It's very simple. You need to go to menti.com and use the code 75, 40, 60. Two users only make
Come on, guys, there are more participants.
free. Yeah.
I think everybody already knows the reason, and that's why they actually joined us. Oh, ran out of cash. Yeah, interesting.
We are waiting some time and go.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay, I think maybe time is up.
yeah, okay, you are right. The main reason for a failed launch is the lack of need for a product. Without customers willing to buy, it doesn't matter how good or innovative or beautiful or reasonable priced a product it will fail. Next slide. Yes.
Mhm.
In general, that these startups were developed with little or no customer participation. They often relied on their intuition or professionalism and didn't account for the most important factor in product creation, the product or market fit. Let's go back to the example. Google Wave didn't satisfy the market. Customers didn't understand the app's value, and sales were low. In this situation, it doesn't matter who creates the product, whether it's two fellow developers or big corporation like Google, or how much money is invested. There is always a chance the product will fail, but it's possible to avoid this outcome with a crucial and effective methodology called customer development plan. And how to avoid this fail? It makes no sense when we spend most of our time and effort optimizing our product development process. What about customer development? Shouldn't we invest at least as much time in understanding our customers, their needs and pain points, and how to deliver a solution to them? Customer development is an approach for doing just that. There are no facts inside the building, so get the hell outside. This is a famous quote from Steve Blank, the founder of the customer development approach. After coming up, this is seemingly brilliant idea. A group of developers and designers gather to create a new product. They keep the whole process secret with a big mistake. They don't get any feedback or understand your users. And I show you need to follow simple rules. All these rules describe the methodology customer development on this slide. And the next slide. So
Mhm.
let's back a minute and talk about definitions. What is customer development? What does it replace? What does it not replace? The term customer development is meant to parallel product development. While everyone has a product development methodology, almost no one has a customer development methodology. And the truth is, if you don't learn what customers really want, you are at a very high risk of building something that no one wants to buy. Blank defines customer development as a process of obtaining customer insights that can be used to create, review, and optimize the ideas in product development. The most important aspect of CustDev is that it helps to find customers and create a product and messaging specificity for them. Its strategy that avoids or at least speeds up the roller coaster or the startup curve and provides a linear tactic for creating the best solution for specific users with help for their insights. Um, you need follow some rules. You need understand who your customers are, what problems or needs they have, how they are currently behaving, which solution customers will give you money, and how to provide solution in a way that works with how your customers decide. And and after that you will have product more successfully. This topic is very extensive, but we want to tell you exactly how to conduct the interview. For example, the next slide, customer development in Russia IT is more customer conversation. We use it to make some insights from our users. We found out whether our hypothesis about potential customers and correct our project and turn to users for facts from them. Um, this We use customer development for getting a lot of insights from customer. It help us to in development. We won't spend too much time on new product or service development, because if you are here, you are probably running an existing business that you are looking to grow. Customer insights help for product improvements. Customer insights can help for team motivation. Tracking customer satisfaction and feeding this back to the team is a great way to keep everyone's focus on customer value. Besides, customer insights are very help for improving support resources. Digging into your customer interaction can lead to treasure trove of opportunities to improve support resources. Everything what you do in customer development is centered around testing hypothesis. And how testing hypothesis describe Maxime and Dilara, and I give the word to Maxime.
Hi guys, my name is Max. I'm a product manager at Yandex. So I'm going to tell you about stages of customer development. There are 5 essential stages. First of all, you need to size a market, which means to choose people you want to assess. Then you have to state a hypothesis. It can be a question or a statement that you want to find an answer for. For instance, do people care about rubbish on the street when they go back home? That's just an example. Then you have to prepare for and conduct an interview. Its goal is to find answers for your questions and probably find some insights that you might haven't heard of before. Insights are like some key ideas, some secrets that were hidden from you, and they get revealed during an interview. After the interview, you have to gather and analyze all data. You've got to be able to guess most valuable takeaways and ideas. And final stage is to develop a minimum valuable product because it will allow you to test your hypothesis on real customers. It is important because people do not always do what they tell. They can like you may find out that people suffer from huge amount of irrelevant news on their Facebook newsfeed, but they swear to you that they will pay any money if you make a product that will show them only relevant news. Then you make a product, you show them 5 news for free, all of them are relevant, and then you ask, will you buy it? And they might not do this. So, okay, now let's cover each stage in detail. Um, First stage is market sizing. It is important to define your target audience. You cannot make a product that fits everyone, or at least almost everyone. Uh, you can, of course, but like Amazon did it in the US or Facebook or Instagram, but it requires time, money, and work. And what you can do is to make a product that is good for a specific group of people that values your product, and this group of people is ready to use it and pay for it. You need to evaluate a group's size and behavior. These are essential as you don't want to make a product for a million of people who do not have problems you solve, or you don't want to make a product for 10 people out of a million, because IT product has to be scalable in the long run, because it will allow you to grow and develop, and a small product can do that. Let's look for an example. Like, imagine you want to make an app that delivers food from restaurants anywhere you want. So first of all, you evaluate how many people there are in your area. Let's be ambitious and take whole Russia, for instance. Then you are the app that delivers food from restaurants, right? You probably want to find out how many people visit restaurants. Yeah. You get the info on these people, and then you might think something like, how much do these people spend on food? It is important, and as you need a profitable product. Like, let's say you need at least you need people to spend $20. You need your users to spend $20 per month. Like ARPPU is average revenue per paying user. It is a key metric for your product. So you expect your customers to spend like 20% of their restaurant money on online orders. And so it means that you need people who spend at least $100 monthly on restaurants. Okay, so you've found your target audience, and now we can proceed to the next step. Hypothesis statement. It is essential because you don't want to just go and have a sweet talk about food with someone who spends a decent money in restaurants. What you should do is to define what you want to find answers for. You can state multiple hypotheses or questions. Like I already told that they might be questions or statements. It is not so important. What is important is they have to be precise. I'll show you an example. Like, you have a question: will people order food with an app? It's pretty pointless because the answer for this question can be very ambiguous. What people, like what food, what app, you don't know. It's very difficult to find out during an interview. Yeah, this is a no. And as I mentioned previously, you can replace this question with multiple questions or multiple statements. Let's say you want to check if your idea about food delivery service is good or not. You know that your service solves a problem of people who like to eat out but cannot do it more often due to some circumstances, and they might love your offer. So let's say the first statement is people eat out as they are lazy to cook. If it is so, then you know that people eat out not only because they enjoy change of environment or they hate being at home, but simply because like they are lazy to cook, and your service might be useful to them. The second question is like second hypothesis is like people often take food home. If it is so, then you're even closer, as they might prefer home to restaurant to eat food, and here is your service. And finally, like a third hypothesis you need to prove is people eat out less due to external circumstances like bad weather or time of day. If this is the problem, then your service is just bam. It will solve the problem, and they might spend even more money than they spent before on food. So let's move to next step, is how to search for respondents. You need people who actually have this money, right? And there are lots of ways to do it. It's up to you, but I'm going to mention most common and easy to do. The first one is friends or friends' friends, people like you know or they know. I advise this at first, as when you are unexperienced, you will be able to interview these people without feeling like your heart is going to pop out of your chest, so like just like this. And oh yeah, like this. So after you get some experience and run out of friends, you will have to go somewhere else. And thank God we live in the age of the internet and have such things as Facebook, like Instagram, Twitter, or Google, or Yandex at Russia, and etc. So all you need to do is to write some exciting text about your product. Don't be afraid that someone might steal your gorgeous idea. It's probably not going to happen. Then you have to post it in some group where people you need hang out, or on your wall, on your newsfeed, in your Twitter, in your Instagram, anything you like. You can ask your friends to repost it and get even more respondents. And then just prepare for an interview. So it's good. You can also look for people outside, but it is very scary and it requires courage and experience. You probably won't be very effective at first with these people. And the final stage is like some company or service. This service, they can find people for you if you pay them, and they allow you to choose a target audience and find respondents you need. So like one of these services is SurveyMonkey. Okay. I will send you a link if you want. This service allows you to make free polls where you can pay them money and they will find people for you. So now I give my word to Dilara. She will tell you about the interview itself. Thanks.
Yeah, so let's move on. Before you actually go to your customer, let's imagine that you have stated the hypothesis, then you found your target audience, and you even found people who are willing to talk to you about their problems or about their situations. So before you go to them, it's very essential to actually prepare your questionnaire, because you want to get as much as possible from that interview, find as many insights as you can. So you don't want to waste your time or the time of your interviewee. So that's why we really recommend to prepare the questionnaire upfront. So remember that actually interview sounds pretty scary to people, and before we begin, you need to do your best to connect. So we recommend to start with some general questions. For example, don't forget to thank them for spending your time. Do greet them when they come to your office, or I don't know if you meet outside or something like that. If you want to record your session, and we'll speak about that a little bit later, do ask politely about it, because it can be it can also scare your customer, and they won't tell you all of their stories truly. And the most easy thing to do is to ask how are they feeling today, and that will also warm up your atmosphere. So after the general questions, you can move to some context questions. What do I mean by that is that you don't want to ask them just any question, because it's just pointless. What you want during the interview is to put them into some context, into a situation where you think they have a problem that you have stated in your hypothesis. Here are some rules for that questions. First, and I think the most important one is you should ask only open questions. Do not ask something like, how many times per week do you go to the restaurant? It's pretty obvious that person will come up with just any answer that pops in his head right now. You want to put the person into a context so that he will share a story that from which you will understand what's the real answer is. So yeah, the rule of more whys. Try to get to the real reason why person does something. So you'll want to ask as many whys as possible. For example, person says, I like to go to restaurants. Why do you like to go to restaurants? Well, sometimes I want to eat tasty food. Why do you want to eat tasty food? Because I'm lazy to cook something home, or I don't have products. Why don't you have products? Well, I have problems with, I don't know, I don't have enough time to go to a supermarket or stuff like that. So you really want to find out the real reason of the problem. Yeah, past is very important. Do not ask people about their future. Questions like, will you buy my product, or will you go to a restaurant that is located near to your home? They are very bad. People will say yes because they want to be polite to you, and they think that no will sound rude or something like that. But when you ask about their past stories, for example, remember the last time you went to a restaurant, it's more likely that they will tell you the truth, because it's much easier to say something that you remember than to come up with some new information. Yeah, so here are some examples of questions. For example, it's pretty easy to start with something like, remember last time you did something? Yeah, try to be silent and try to ask more about the situation. If person answers in just one sentence, then drive him to answer more. You can use such things as, tell me more about it, do you remember something else, and stuff like that. Also, a very important and interesting tip is asking to show how they did something. For example, you want to know how people look for restaurants, and you can ask them to show, remember last time when you went to a restaurant, can you please show me how did you choose that restaurant? So it will be very helpful for you if person just opens his laptop and shows you the whole process. Yeah, the next thing is measuring emotions. So you know that customer interviews, they are not quantitative tools. So every insight that you found, you cannot just count like, well, 5 people out of 5 did say this. That means that the problem exists. Not exactly like that. That means that problem exists, but you want to compare them among each other. So to measure the signals that you actually found, you'll want to estimate the person's emotions with questions like, when you think about the problem, how do you feel? Let's move on. So yeah, here is an example. For example, your customer says, when I invite my friends over after work, I don't know what to cook. As an interviewer, you will want to ask, what did you feel at that moment? Well, last time I spent too much time cooking and I didn't have much fun. Can you tell me more about your emotions? Well, I felt very disappointed because I wanted to relax, but instead I was busy the whole evening. So to help me measure this, can you please tell how bad did you feel from 1 to 10, where 10 is like the worst disappointment that you had in your life? Well, I think it's 5 because of course it's not the worst situation. So this tip can help you measure the emotion, because a person can tell you that it's very bad, but when he starts to compare, he understands that it's not the worst thing, but it's actually cost something. Yeah, so actually after you did pass all your context situations, and after you understood what emotions people had about them, let them speak out at last. So just ask them, if you haven't asked something, ask them whether they have some other stories, something like that. And you will be surprised by people at this point. By the end of the interview, will tell you a lot more interesting things that you didn't even think about. So it's also a useful tip that you can use. Yeah, I forgot about that one thing. At the end of the interview, ask whether they can recommend you any person who you can talk to. It's also a great way to find people to conduct an interview with. So yeah, about the interview format, we recommend to take a partner to an interview who will scribe everything that you're talking about. It really will help you be more objective, because together you will be very interested to find out that you interpret the things that person said differently. During the interview pool, don't push. Don't push people to say something that you want to hear. Remember that that your goal is to find insights, and those insights will come up only when you have a relaxed conversation. Yeah, like I told, ask them to show how they use a product if they use something right now. Use only open questions. Recommend not to spend more than 40 minutes per interview, as people get tired. Yeah, and ask for recommendations for other people to talk to. Yeah, it's being a product manager. Actually, you'll have, or you already have, a lot of responsibilities. So time management is very important, and you won't want to spend a lot of time just for nothing. So when to stop conducting interviews? The first reason is when you see that people keep telling you about the same information, and you're not finding new insights from that. The other point, the other reason is when people say something like, shut up and take my money. I really want that product, and sell me it right now. But of course, it's very, very rare. So I just put it there so that you know. Usually it takes about 8 interviews to validate a hypothesis, or to find out insights about your thoughts about your hypothesis. So what to do after you have conducted the interview? If you did the recording, we recommend you to listen it so that you can find more insights, so that you can rewrite your script. It's very important, because when you're preparing the script, you can forget about some things, and you can understand only during the interview that actually there were some other good questions that you wanted to ask. So at this point, it's very important to rewrite your script, to add other questions, and to evolve it. Yeah, also it's a great tool to check yourself, because it's very good to listen what you have told and how you conducted the interview, to improve your interviews. So yeah, as a conclusion, remember that customer interview, it's only one tool, and it actually should be used consciously, but it have, of course, the main good things. So it's very easy to use, it's very cheap, and it's very fast. So if you have any doubts, just walk out of your office and talk to your people, and it will give you a lot of insights and a lot of useful things. So right now it's questions time. You can ask your questions in Q&A or in our chat. So.
Wow, so many questions. I don't know what to start with.
Let me start with the question that the guys already sent to our community. Yeah. So this is the first question. How should the product manager use and manage the different inputs that comes directly from the users through company's customer service? If you guys want to answer, I can give you this opportunity, or I can answer myself. Yeah, so actually my answer is, from my experience, it really depends on your product. For example, in my company, we're making a music streaming service. We collect everything that users sends to our customer service. And we have the functionalities that are more important and that are less important. Being a music streaming service, of course, it's very important that users should have an ability to listen to music. And if something goes wrong with it, then it's like the highest signal for us that something is broken and that we should change it. The same is, I think, with some new features that people ask to make. We'll also try to prioritize them according to the functionality, which is more or less important to a person.
I can add that if we speak about sources of users, sources of feature requests or complaints from users, it is important to monitor social media. It is important to monitor Google Store or App Store, as there is a lot of valuable feedback there. And we at Yandex, we have lots of channels for it at customer service. We have a special tool to collect all data from different services. And then we do what Dilara said. We rank those feature requests and complaints. And then we use, after we sort them, we develop a product so that to cover major losses, like to cover most vigorous bugs, or to make features that are required by lots of users, by the majority of them. So that's it.
Yeah, thanks. We have actually a raised hand.
Yeah,
Here.
how to do hypothesis testing. Answer live, I think, yeah. I told about hypothesis testing. It is actually, so when you state a hypothesis before the interview, as an example, like, do people eat out less when the weather is bad? Then you have this question, or you have some questions during the interview that lead people to answer it. Like, you may ask, why don't you go to restaurants more often? And if a person says like, I don't have money for it, or I don't know, I just I don't like to eat so often. Then you're like, my hypothesis may be wrong, because this person didn't mention that sometimes it is due to laziness or bad weather, or like because it is dark outside. And if a person mentions this in his answer, then you're done. So your hypothesis is proven. And of course, one person is not enough to prove your hypothesis. So the more answers you have, the more data you have, the more it is likely to be a truth. So it is good if you like interview 30 people, or it may be good if you make an online poll and you interview like hundreds of people. Then you'll have a lot of data and you can test your hypothesis pretty precisely. So Mai, any questions already? So my question is, what is your question? And Krishna, by the way, have I answered your question? If not, then you can ask something else. So the next question is, what is the best way to modularize a solution? Go by roles, personas, or by business units? Different business units have similar roles, but different objectives. How do we drive such products and break them into models? Good question. At Yandex, we do this by business units, but this is because we are a large company. There are more than 10,000 people working here. But if you are a small company, a startup, and you have a team of like 5 people, then of course it's good to divide it personally. You can just meet with the whole team and divide the roles. So and you are not likely to have objectives that contradict with each other. But in a huge business like ours, of course, it depends on how profitable a solution might be, or how harmful it might be for business in general. Like if it has more positives than negatives, then you have to do this. And like you drive products that are the most profitable for you right now. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I didn't really understand the question, because for me, it sounds like you're asking how do you define roles between product managers at one product. For me, it sounds like something like this. Can you please ask more precisely so that we can answer it? So, any other question, guys? Yeah, so interesting question. There could be cases that customers don't understand themselves. Has history proved that with Ford at Yandex? Do you believe in the input 100%, or is there some percentage PMs are still doubtful, and how much? Yeah. Well, I think actually, as for me, as a product manager, you have many tools to understand your customers and to validate that what they say during the interview is actually the truth. Of course, like we said, customer interview, it's only a tool to find insights, and then you should find out the real audience that actually have the same problem. Because, for example, me, I can have a problem, but there are only 3 person in the world who have the same problem, so there is no need to build a product for them. So for us, it's the same. We always do estimate the audience that meets the same problem, like Max said, with questionnaires, with statistical questionnaires, or with building an A/B test. As for product managers, well, it really depends. Every product manager works in his own way and uses the tools that he or she actually can use. Yes, well, I think that the most common tools that we use here are A/B testing. And we also look for insights from real data, because we're a big company. And we have some data that we can analyze. We can analyze customers' performance and how they use the products. And from that, we can find something interesting and then build some solutions for that. Or sometimes we also find a problem that, I don't know, customers keep canceling the subscription, and you go try to understand why, and you see that I don't know, some people say like, I like your product, but I don't have money right now. So you have to prepare a solution that will help them. In this situation, I would go and talk to people and try to understand what is the real problem, and is it true that they're telling us through the questionnaire. But sometimes you don't have to go outside. You can just prepare a solution like that and go do the A/B testing to understand whether it works or not. Sometimes it's very difficult to collect some data for our clients, especially when they're a business. How do you go about gathering data which is internal and not easily available? I think it's about the B2B. Honestly, as for us, we've never worked with B2B, so I don't think that we will be able to give you some useful insights from that. Maybe there are some participants who can join our session and answer it. Don't be shy; it's really okay, because we want to help out as much people as we can.
There's already also a question like, should we approach from the persona or from the business objective? Mission C. I think that it depends on size of your business. Like if your business is huge, then of course objective is important. But if your business is small, if you're a startup, then it might be useful to approach from the persona, as you don't know your business objective yet. Like you're very small. So it always depends on the situation you're in. There is no right answer. And if it is difficult to collect data on your clients, you can ask them, like you can gather these data personally. If it is a business, then you have to call your business and you have to conduct interviews with people from your clients. I think that it will be beneficial both for you and for a company like you get the data from. So I guess like with us, we have all these data as our clients are customers, and they use devices that provide us this data. And with you, like, yeah, it is just personal talking, I think. And a question for Giacomo, what's the average cost of a customer interview? Well, it depends actually. At Yandex, they pay people something like $30 for an hour interview, and they can they can make them a gift, like a T-shirt or a cup. So it's like, I think it's like less than $50 per an hour interview. But again, if you're a small company, it can be almost free for you. You can buy a person a coffee, and a croissant, and he or she will be happy. Like it can be almost for free, like this.
Okay, guys.
If we haven't covered something, please specify your questions. Like because question was like, what are tools for customer development? This question is very ambiguous. Customer development has various stages, and there are various tools for them. Like there are tools for an interview, there are tools for data analysis, there are tools for writing text when you conduct an interview. There are tools for searching for target audience, like lots of them. Tools for collecting data. So I am sorry that I cannot answer for a huge question, like, because we don't have such time. So if you have some precise question, please don't hesitate to ask. For startup whose budget is very limited, how can we collect enough data, enough sample, like you said, in order to validate what customers said are really true and honest? Unlike Yandex, small startups do not have ample budget. Also, in a B2B situation, small startups don't have reputation. Nobody knows who they are yet to interview a B2B customer. What are your advice from your experience? Wow.
I can answer that. I mean, working in a big company, we don't have a lot of experience for the questions that you're asking, but I can say that during our studies in Yandex, we also had some pet projects which were very small, and in order to validate the insights found from customer interviews, we really did the surveys, online surveys where you could find as many people as you can from your friends, relatives, and stuff like that. The important thing here is that they should be your target audience. Otherwise, you won't be able to validate your insight. I mean, for example, yeah, you have a hypothesis that people are lazy and they don't want to go to restaurants. Then you go, you validate on 5-person interview that these people actually have the same problem, that sometimes they are too lazy to cook and they also don't want to go to a restaurant. Then you can create a survey, online survey from SurveyMonkey, or we have some tools here in Russian, but I don't think that they will be available internationally. But I'm pretty sure that there exists something. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what tool will you use, but you can really create a survey and then just send out it to as many people as you can find. You can post it in Facebook groups or in other messengers, and that's how you can collect your data to validate some insights that you found. That's our experience. I mean, there must be plenty of others, but that's how we dealt with it. I mean, it's very important also to gain your own experience and to try to find out as many tools as you can. And only by experience you will understand, does this tool actually suit you as a product manager or not? So, and yeah, something like that.
And in a nutshell, first of all, there is a qualitative stage where it is a stage in which you attend like 5 people personally, you conduct an interview with them. And then there is a quantitative stage. You gather insights, as Dilara said, then you make a poll online and you gather data from lots of people. So it is also fast and cheap and effective. And mentioning your B2B request that you do not have reputation yet, nobody knows who you are. You might be, it might be useful to be like, to be tricky here and try to connect to people working there, working in those companies. This way you will be able to actually get to a person, get to know them, and get your reputation actually.
Okay, guys, actually, yeah, our time is up. So
Yeah.
I think we should leave. We have some other meetings. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank
for
you,
your
guys.
questions.
Yeah. As
You're
an organizer, I wanted to say to you, Max, Anastasia, and Dilara, thank you so much for your participation as speakers and product experts. It was very useful for me, at least. And I hope for our attendees. And it was really, really useful and nice. Thank you, guys. Thank you for our participants. I hope next Friday, we're gonna create something new and interesting. And welcome.
Yes, see you. Thanks. Bye.
See you guys. Thank Max. Thank Anastasia again.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, Dilara. Bye bye. Bye guys.
Bye.